this is Lee back again for another review. Now this time I'm going to tackle the sequel to Volume 41, known as Volume 42. Now this was my second live show, but let me explain something. Actually, this digital versatile disc represents the second half of the Saturday recording, the Shimmer tapings. Now you see, first you would have had Volume 41 following the pre-show matches, and then Volume 42. So this is the second half of the evening. This is another 3.5 hours, and so you would imagine the fans are exhausted, the wrestlers are tired, they're bruised, they're getting into their costumes and thinking, what the heck are we doing? All this for? Well, it's to entertain the fans, and not only the live audience, but all the fans who would watch it on digital versatile disc, video on demand, and so forth, all throughout time. This is digital immortality. But anyway, this set of matches I would have seen immediately after Volume 41. So this is one show, 41, 42. I was not there the second night. The second night I would have seen 43, 44, but my travel plans wouldn't allow it. Someday I'd like to see a full weekend, just to see what it's like to watch 14 hours of wrestling. You get the picture. Anyway, Volume 42, I'll just open it up here for you. As you can see, the always wonderful artwork in the clear cases. You pop out the disc. Of course, I have replaced the clips that come in the original packaging, which were designed to prevent discs from getting broken and shipped through the mail, since they primarily make the money off of shipping. So now, of course, there are spoilers here, because in the previous volume, the tag team titles exchange hands when Tomoka Nakagawa and Daisy Hayes were defeated by the team of Ayako Hamada and Yumi Korihara. Anyway, these are the matches out of order, because they're out of order on the back here. Mercedes Martinez and Leva Bates. Now, I'll say a word about Leva Bates, because Leva Bates has an interesting history. She has appeared in the TNA promotion a few times. I believe she had some dark matches, as many women wrestlers did, and never actually appeared as a frontline performer. But she actually participated in the Awesome Kong $25,000 challenge, and you can imagine how that turned out. Poor Leva Bates. But anyway, this match is floating around online, if you can find it. At another time, when TNA was doing their infamous Aces and Eights storyline, where a motorcycle gang essentially was trying to take over the promotion and beat everyone up as much as they could, Leva Bates was actually in on it. She appeared as a stagehand, talking to Hulk Hogan and Sting at the time, and sprayed them both in the face with some kind of mace, pepper spray, or something of that nature, taking them out in a matter of seconds. And that's it. She just kind of did that, and that was it. So she was in the employ of these ruffians backstage. Anyway, now the world, if you will, knows Leva Bates as Blue Pants. Blue Pants. Very interesting name. I suppose a takeoff on one of the outfits she wore, blue and black. Of course, her hair and black pigtails. Leva Bates had a match many volumes ago against Alice in Danger, and the two of them formed a team called Regeneration X. Of course, a takeoff on D-Generation X, which was a takeoff on Generation X. And of course, that was Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and a few others back in WWF. But anyway, Regeneration X began, I believe, volume 37, which of course is a wonderful volume to start with for anyone who wants to see Shimmer volumes. This Regeneration X had them dressed as Doctor Who from the famous BBC television series, which of course has become mainstream in its revival since 2005. Anyway, subsequent to that evening, Leva Bates and Alison Danger, whether together or separately, have adopted gimmicks involving geek culture, if you will. More recent geek culture, if you will, but superheroes, movie characters, comic book gimmicks, references to video games, and things like that. And I guess in her personal life, Leva Bates is an avid fan of these different pursuits, as many young people are of her generation. Anyway, Leva Bates, not a very powerful wrestler, a little small, very enthusiastic. She cheats. She is not a spotless personality, but very entertaining to watch. She seeks to get the fans on her side, and together with Alison Danger form a very interesting tag team. Had a very good run. But Leva Bates and Mercedes Martinez, you could imagine this was not a pretty sight. Mercedes is a very violent person, and would not would not cut her any slack, not pull any punches against Leva Bates. But I enjoyed this match simply because Mercedes Martinez loves what she does. Every punch, slap, move against her opponent is done with such seriousness and ferocity. It is enjoyable. It is a guilty pleasure, I suppose. Haley, Hatred, and Calamity versus Melanie Cruz and Mina Libra. I talked about this a bit in an earlier volume review. This was a disappointing match to me, I'm afraid. All of the performers I respect. Individually, I like them. I thought the tag teams were great. Haley, Hatred, and Calamity, large women, but small in stature, compared to the very tall, solidly built Melanie Cruz and Mina Libra. This was not a match between two threatening giants, but rather just a couple of cowardly bullies who were taken out by the much stronger, much more powerfully willed women in Haley, Hatred, and Calamity. So I felt this was a cliched match. It could have been better, but I don't blame the performers. I blame the schedule, and perhaps whoever was calling the match. It was very cliched. But I do miss them, of course, because Mina Libra and Calamity are no longer performing due to injuries, early retirement, from what I hear. There was a four-corner survival match between Mischief, Kelly Skater, Lufisto, and Tomoka Nakagawa. Now, right there in the ring were four of my favorite wrestlers from the Shimmer promotion, all together. And I hadn't yet seen them that night, and it was just a real treat to see them. But the match was so short, I felt I wanted it to go on longer, but that's what we had, because it was a long night. There were so many matches to get through. They just had to hurry it up. But of course, all of those wrestlers are great in their own right, and to see them all together in the ring, just kind of clowning around with their wonderful gimmicks and just incredible personalities was just a treat. So it was wonderful. But that's the type of match I would expect to see on, say, WCW back in the early 90s, when they were showcasing women's wrestling, and they would bring in a bunch of wrestlers no one had ever seen before. They would have a crazy match for like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes at the most, and it'd be over. And I don't know if the fans really appreciated what they saw, but in that short moment, I mean, that bite-sized piece, it's like, wow, what did I just see? This was amazing. Can I see more? Anyway, it left me wanting more. Courtney Rush versus Yumi Oka. Now, Courtney Rush really got a big push around this time and afterwards, just as a rising star. Then she came kind of a goofball, and then she started to slip into kind of a darker side. But at this time, she was someone that I had not seen much of previously. But I thought this woman is very fit. She has a lot of enthusiasm, charisma, and you can tell she's really trying hard to give this fan something special. So I appreciated that. Now Yumi Oka, of course, had made a dramatic debut in the previous volume. Just an amazing array of kicks, jumping over the ropes. I think when she jumped over the ropes, when she first started, I was immediately a fan. And that doesn't happen often. I was immediately a fan. I'd never seen it before in my life. And I was immediately a fan. So her against Courtney Rush, so the two of them, I thought, what can they do? What can they bring out of one another in this match? And I think both of them brought out great things in one another in this match. And that's what a wrestling match should be, is that each wrestler pushes the other, showcases the other in terms of their talents and abilities, and the ability of the fans to get behind them 100%. And Yumi Oka also appears as a woman of good sport. She will destroy her opponent, but shake their hand, give them a hug, show respect for a worthy opponent, which of course makes her even bigger in the eyes of the fans. Portia Perez and Davina Rose, so two evenly matched wrestlers. Of course, Portia Perez a little more seasoned by this time. The two of them going one-on-one, but of course we know that Portia Perez gives herself an edge by cheating. She and Nicole Matthews, of course, backstab many wrestlers, so you can imagine how that goes. So good match. Nikki Rocks and Ariel versus Nevaeh and Sassy Steffi. Now, I was not a fan of Sassy Steffi. I didn't like her look, didn't think much of her character. I think in later volumes she did more, at certain times accompanied to the ring by her valet, but I don't know, I just didn't see, I just was not engaged. Now, I will say that I was a big fan of a wrestling podcast. Podcast is simply a fancy name for a internet radio MP3 driven audio presentation of people talking. Anyway, Stu Allen and Lee Burton, a blessed memory, these men used to have a Women of Wrestling podcast. Anyway, this podcast featured many wrestlers and interviewed them, gave them a chance to kind of share their background, their story. And I will say that these interviews gave me a much greater appreciation for these different wrestlers, especially the ones I didn't know much about. Just to hear their story, their background, to figure out, why it was they did certain things, what their character was all about, what the history was. And so, rather than just simply seeing a match and saying, well, that wasn't a great match, you can see, well, what was this wrestler really all about? And so, when I heard Sassy Steffi's interview, my respect for her was greatly increased. Let's put it that way. But at the time, I was not very impressed. Since then, of course, I've seen her in other matches. I think she's had some injuries. She's not able to do as many moves as she wishes. That unfortunately happens to many wrestlers. Maybe they have a high-flying style, which is very risky. Too many injuries, and they have to change to a more ground-based style. But some wrestlers, like Lufisto, they go through so much, and yet they're still able to do so much. It's amazing. You think they would have retired years ago. but somehow they're able to keep going and become even more entertaining than they were at their physical peak. It's amazing. But not everyone can do that. So some just have better luck, I suppose. But anyway, Sassy Steffi and Nevaeh versus Aerial Nikki Rocks. Now, Nevaeh was another wrestler that I didn't really care for much. She and Ashley Lanes were a heroic tag team, but I felt they were very generic. I was not very interested in them, but I think Nevaeh especially has grabbed my attention in recent years. I think she is much better than she was at this time. But anyway, her heel turn, she becomes more evil. Sassy Steffi, of course, vain, just not a good person in the world of wrestling. I mean that in character, of course. And then their opponents, of course, Nikki Rocks and Aerial, greatly beloved by fans. Now, Aerial, if you watch her earlier matches, and I do not say this with any disrespect, she was much more slender. She had gained a large amount of weight relative to her size over time, but I appreciate the way that the fans could see her, because I've commented before on the model-centric presentation of women's wrestling on television. Anyway, the fact that these larger women perform in the same ring that the more slender women shows that there is not just one ideal of beauty. That different body types and looks are acceptable and are something to appreciate, because it's not all about looks, and that's pretty much all I want to say about that. But Nikki Rocks and Aerial, I've talked about before. They are a tag team and beloved by fans and heroic in a sense, but they cheat too. They cut corners. They are sneaky, scheming characters, and so don't be confused and think that just because the fans cheer them and they're good looking and clean cut does not mean that they are good. They cheat as well. So the matchup was sort of between the lovable heels and the hateable heels, if you will. So that was a good match. Again, many group matches here. Jessie McKay versus Athena versus Mia Yim. Now Athena, I've been greatly impressed by. She had a huge rise from someone who simply kind of appeared, and she was a bad girl and so forth. And then all of a sudden, people were cheering her, and then she became a baby face at that point. Just very popular wrestler. I've only seen a couple of matches that I thought were not so good from her. Most of her matches very solid. Very good character, moments of comedy. You just take her seriously. Jessie McKay, of course. If you just saw her, you would think, oh, she can't do anything, but her matches are very good. She and Madison Eagles, very impressive wrestlers, came together originally as tag team and then split apart. Jessie McKay following the path of righteousness, and Madison Eagles following the path of tradition. Anyway, Mia Yim, of course, a volleyball player at one time here, concerned about her looks, growing up thinking she was not beautiful, but one of the very good-looking wrestling personalities, and impressive ring work as well, despite her relative lack of experience compared to some of the others. So, triple threat match. Serena Deeb versus Nicole Matthews. Now, there was a feud going on here between Serena Deeb and the Canadian Ninjas. And so you see violence going on, some backstabbing, shenanigans, plotting, weapons of various sorts. Good match. Shimmer Tag Team title match between Yumiko Errata and Ayaka Hamada. Wonderful team. Two very talented wrestlers. High-flying moves, strong kicks, stiff moves of various kinds. I believe this. There was a moment in one of their matches where Ayako Hamada, who does not speak English well, she speaks Spanish and Japanese with a mixed heritage. Anyway, she uttered some profanity at the referee during one of these matches. She was so frustrated with the referee's inability to see the injustice that was going on, and she screamed and dropped the F-bomb. It was quite funny. But anyway, there was another moment where Hamada, there was this long, drawn-out preparation for their opponents to get in the match, and Hamada will normally hang on the ropes and things like that, and she's psyching herself up for the match, stretching, and she just kind of like fell over and kind of laid there for a second like she'd fallen asleep. It was very funny. So Hamada, very serious wrestler, but at times she has her funny moments. There was a few videos of her from Japan where there are little comedic moments too, so I appreciate that about her. And I think because she is so serious most of the time, they come off as even funnier because they come out of nowhere. Yumiko Errata, I was very sad to see that she had to retire because of injuries, but a very cute, very strong Joshi performer. She will be greatly missed. But the two of them and their team versus the Knight Dynasty. And I talked earlier about Paige, who here was known as Brittany Knight, the plucky youngster being taught by Saraya Knight, the matron of Menace, the evil bully who would try to get her daughter to do dastardly things, and when her daughter failed to measure up to the level of wickedness, would punish her, bully her, eventually leading the fans to side with Brittany against her mum. So the two of them, now of course Rebecca Knox, I greatly miss her. She has come to the WWE, but Rebecca Knox was the valet for the Knight Dynasty for a time. Wonderful valet. I think her voice, her presentation, she, I think, was almost more entertaining as a valet or manager than as a wrestler. But that is not to discount her abilities either. When we review the DVDs she is in, I will say more about her own talents. And she was sidelined with injury for a long time. And it was very sad because she had so much promise. But now she's back, so we'll see what she does. She looks very different now, of course. But if you look at her face closely, you'll see the same Rebecca Knox you always remembered. Anyway, Kana versus Sarah Del Rey. I mentioned this before the previous volume. Kana from Japan, from Smash to WP and other promotions. Of course, there she is, right there. Kana, wonderful woman. Anyway, she goes against Sarah Del Rey, as you can see. And if you look at the two of them, you'll see that they are similar in style, very strong, basically as macho as you can get with a couple of women who look like this. So it was a very entertaining match, very intense, impactful, and just wonderful overall showmanship. This could be, if this was a real fight, I think it would really, people would stand up and cheer, people would pay money to see this. So I think it was very well put together. The two of them, great match. And of course Sarah Del Rey had chastised Kana and said, oh, you beat a rookie, great job. Now come show me what you've really got. So, that was perfect, and nothing more needed to be said. Just words to that effect. Now, Madison Eagles and Hiroyo Matsumoto, I've talked about that. Those two matches that I listed right there, if those are the only matches on the card, I would say it was worth it to see this. This is a wonderful, wonderful volume. It was late, I was tired, the other fans were tired, but I think nothing was lost. This was amazing. One of the best overall shows I've ever seen, and it was one of the first, well, it was the first live show I've ever seen, and it was still one of my favorites, not just because of nostalgia. And the DVDs don't really capture the full effect, but they're the next best thing to being there. So I would highly recommend these two together. Watch them together. Now, I'm not asking you to watch 7 hours of wrestling in one day, but if you broke it up into even 2 days or 4 days, watch half and then half, like you're watching Lord of the Rings, which is an excellent series, by the way. People do marathons of that, or the Star Wars comedy films. People do that. So if you want to do wrestling, those two are not a bad choice. So I'll be talking soon about some of the other digital versatile discs in my collection. Next, I'll be talking about Volume 43. Look at these covers. Amazing. And 44. And these two, of course, will round out the biggest Shimmer weekend ever. And I'll be putting out these reviews as soon as I can. And I thank you for your patience and for your time and support. Thank you very much. Goodbye.